Welcome to fall in Minnesota.
Yes, this is the real fall this time, not like we started 5 weeks ago. We had cold spring. Now we're actually in the fall.
And of course, the minute we come outside to do this, the wind picks up, and I think we're currently at 13 miles an hour. So we'll see how well you can hear us through all of this.
But the remaining leaves are beautiful.
They are. I took the drone up yesterday morning, so I will be sure to include some of that video in here so you can see the beauty that is happening right now. So we just returned from a short vacation to North Carolina.
Yeah, more like a long weekend, a really long weekend. But
It was, but we made it jam-packed. That's how we do vacation. We go and we make a plan for every day. We're not beach goers. We are not sit around and read all day. That's great for those who love it, but that's not who we are on vacation.
no, I can do that here, right?
Yeah.
I live on a lake. If I want to go down by the beach, I want to sit there all day, I can do that. I can go lounge on the boat. So when we go somewhere, we want to go somewhere to see things. And sand isn't it.
Exactly. So we went to mainly the Asheville, North Carolina area, but we stayed in Hendersonville, which I don't know, would that be considered a suburb of Asheville?
I don't know. It might be a little far away to be a suburb, a distant suburb. But no, it's its own little town, very unique, beautiful, somewhat historic. We stayed at the Waverly Inn, which was established in 1898. Beautiful old building and beautiful accommodations. It was very nice.
And it was really adorable. And as Jorg mentioned, it was near what we would call Old Town Hendersonville. There's a little main street that we could easily walk to, and we did every night, even if just for exercise or to get out and people watch and see what shops were open, or to walk down for dinner in the evening.
Yeah, had a very European vibe to it, right? You're staying in a little town. You're staying at a bed and breakfast, and you can walk anywhere into town and make yourself comfortable. And we did, and that was really enjoyable. And even when they did our breakfast in the morning, we get to sit in a little breakfast room, had fabulous breakfast, something different specialty every morning. That was great.
We got to select the night before what we wanted from the breakfast menu, which was really nice. And then when they knew we were there for our allotted times, then they would bring it out fresh from the kitchen.
Yeah, I'm not normally a breakfast person, but if they're going to give it to me and make it to order, why not?
Yeah, yeah. At home, I'm happy if I just have a cup of coffee and dry cereal. But man, if somebody else is making that breakfast, I'm all in. I'm eating a lot. And what about that Irish restaurant we ate at? Hannah Flanagan's.
Yeah.
That was really enjoyable. So somebody pointed out to us, we mentioned that we went to this restaurant twice in a matter of, 4 nights?
Yes.
And they said, you never go out to eat at the same restaurant when you're on vacation. And we said, that's how much we liked it.
Yeah. And it's one of those restaurants where the local eats, and you could really tell on Sunday evening when apparently most of the tourists had gone except for us, and the place was packed and clearly what appeared to be locals because they're dressed kind of like I am now, how I would be dressed in my rural town, and it was great food, good service, nice little flair to it, and again within a half mile's walk of our B&B.
Yeah, it was great. And their prices were very reasonable. Had a Wagyu beef shepherd's pie for under $13, and it was way more than I could eat. It was huge proportions.
I did something I also don't typically do. I had the same thing on both nights that we went there. Fish and chips. It's an Irish pub. It's one of their specialties, and it was fabulous cod. Inch-thick fillets, lightly battered, and the cod was actually the star of the plate, and that's kind of what you want with fish and chips. So, well done.
On our agenda, we wanted to go to see Biltmore. It is the largest home in the United States. Is that how they are ranked, Jorg, besides the age?
So, and there are a couple of other palace, castle-like estates in the U.S. that were built by the robber barons. But this one, I think, was the largest. It still sits on many thousand acres, just beautiful grounds. The driveway to get to the main residence was
3
3 miles long.
miles.
Um, it took a while, but beautifully manicured, well-maintained grounds, wooded almost in their entirety, set up very nicely. And it was quite nice to see how Robert Barron might have lived 130 years ago. I think it was finished building it in 1895 with all of the state-of-the-art architecture and amenities that were available at that time.
What was really sad, though, was the person, the Vanderbilt, was his name George,
George.
who began this process, unfortunately did not get to see it through because he died at just 51.
Well, he did get to see it through. He lived there for 19 years.
But it wasn't completed inside. The
Yeah,
rooms weren't
There were
completed.
several rooms that, to our surprise, we didn't know this, and we really don't know why, because they moved in 1895, and he passed away in 1914 at the sad age of 51. But as we got the tour, there were a couple of main rooms that hadn't been finished at that time that remained undone. So don't quite understand that. But it's a huge house, so
Huge.
It is
Oh my-
understandable.
We weren't sure what to expect from the tour, and it just seemed to keep going and going and going. We went on all 3 floors and saw quite a bit of the home. We took the basic tour.
Yeah, there are 4 floors actually. I think the
Did we go on all 4, or was
no, we
it
did
3?
not. The servants' quarters on the 4th floor, we did not tour that, but we did get into the basement, where the kitchen is, and the pool and the exercise room, and wow. And apparently there is a sub basement as well that we did not see, but we saw most of it, all of the major rooms. Very nice, and I think what really struck me is that if you think about it, obviously, the vast majority of us won't ever live to that kind of grandeur, but the actual amenities, most of us in America enjoy. I think the pride is the library, and he had
Oh.
thousands of books, and he read thousands of books. But today, just about all of us have all of that available on our iPhone. Or
But you know what?
Android phone.
I mentioned that I wouldn't go on vacation and read books. If I were allowed to go into that library and peruse the books on a vacation, I would take them up on that.
Yeah.
I can't, because he wrote in journals, the owner, George Vanderbilt, and I'm sure his family members did as well, and he collected books. He wanted to have knowledge in almost anything he could. So I think that would be really fascinating to go through the books in his library.
Yep. But much like British royalty and nobility, those vast estates have tremendous upkeep costs, both from a tax perspective and from just the cost of maintenance. And so after he passed away in 1914, it kind of fell on his wife Edith to take over, and over the coming decades, she really got this vision of turning it into more of a public spectacle, and having a destination and preserving the foundations of Vanderbilt, of Biltmore, but really need to go in a different direction to be able to maintain a property like that. And I think she sold 100,000 plus acres back to the government. At the time, I think it's $5 an acre, which is a fortune 100 years ago, but quite the bargain today. But I think in part in order to sustain the facilities over the coming years. And so it's been basically a public domain item ever since. It's still privately held, but they run it as a sightseeing venture, and let many people go in. I think we were there on what I would consider an off day in October, and it was packed.
It was packed. We got there early, and we were glad we did because it was packed. And kudos to George's wife. To have the foresight to think back then, how can I save this home that George put so much into, that we put so much into? And she refused to sell off the furnishings, all of the artwork they had, and the handmade rugs, and the furniture. She refused to sell all of that because she wanted to maintain what was in the house and hold on to it as best as she could. And she started to think forward, how can we continue to bring money in to sustain our home?
We spent the other 2 days more in nature. Our first day we went to Chimney Rock State Park and attraction, and climbed all the steps necessary to get to the near top.
26 stories worth.
Yep.
Did not take the elevator. They do have an elevator. We did not take it up.
No, we did take it down though.
We took it down.
Great exercise, fun, awesome views. Still the remnants of last year's hurricane in the supporting city beneath it. They're still cleaning up, draining the reservoir, and have all the heavy equipment in it, clearing out all the trees and stumps and rocks that came in. But it looks like they're about halfway there. But the attraction itself is fantastic, and the businesses are starting to come back. So go out and support them.
Yes, please. And Lake Lure is emptied. They're leveling it. They pulled out all of the debris, but the resort is open, and businesses that are able to be open are open, and it's nice to go there and support them in any way that you can. And we lucked out for weather. I mean, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, low 70s and sunny the whole time we were there, except for our final day of sightseeing, where we went up to Mount Mitchel, the highest peak east of the Mississippi at 6,684 feet. Up until about a mile up, it was sunny, and we were able to get great views. Stopped many times down the scenic drive to get there, the Blue Ridge Drive. But once we got to the very top, the clouds closed in and said, "Nope, you're not going to look at it today."
So at one of the stops, an older gentleman came up and was talking to us, asking where we were from, and it was really enjoyable to talk to him and his wife. And he informed us that, 2 weeks ago it was too cloudy up there, but that the roads had just recently opened up in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Oh no, sorry, that was the gentleman at the overlook site that we spoke to, the park employee. And he said that the road just finally opened up because they had so many washouts from the hurricane last year. Landslides.
All these roads are right at the ridge level, right? It's the Blue Ridge Scenic Drive, and so it's right near or around the top of the mountains as you're driving there, and apparently it goes all the way up to Virginia, some 400 miles long. We didn't do all that. But yeah, they're just opening now a year later after having repaired the damage from a hurricane. And who would think that you'd have hurricane damage that far inland? But apparently
the rains.
You're getting 10 inches per hour of rain, and that'll just wash everything away, and it's got nowhere to go. So,
but it was beautiful.
Really sad, but it was beautiful. A year later, absolutely beautiful. And before we leave our vacation, the one last thing we really want to call out is that we went to a vineyard, a winery, and it's Mountain Brook in North Carolina. Oh my.
Actually, in Tryon, I think they pronounce it Tryon.
Wow. The wines were fantastic.
Yes.
We've spoiled ourselves and have gotten to vineyards, in California, Sonoma, Napa. We really like Shenandoah Valley. We've done this in France, Italy, Germany. These wines were fantastic. They did a fantastic job with whites. No aftertaste.
The whites were the best we've ever had.
It's fantastic. Over the years, we really migrated over to red wines, and have done so for about the last 20 years, and have really avoided the whites because our experiences haven't been that favorable with them. But wow.
Yeah, so kudos to them because they just earned recognition for the land that the grapes are grown on. I'd have to look back on their website to see what that award was, but well deserved. We did a private wine tasting, which turned out to be really nice because we were very early. Once again, you can tell we're early to attend things because we just like the quietness of it. And so we did a private wine tasting with Eric, the wine room manager. Very knowledgeable, very friendly, and he listened to what we had liked in the past, what we liked about the wines we were tasting, and what we would, look for normally when we purchase a wine to drink or to buy a bottle. And then every once in a while we had a pop-in conversation from Dave, the winemaker. And that was really enlightening. And he was the first one ever of all the wineries that we've talked to who had the answer on why red wines used to give me migraines. And, Hun, what is his background and why he would know this?
Biochemistry.
Who knew?
So good for him. He's had an eclectic background, but really found his niche many years ago as a winemaker. Spent many years in California doing so, learning the craft. And
Then he did another career, and then he came back. He said it was like a calling.
he's really done a great job with the North Carolinian grapes and turning them into fantastic wines. I was pleasantly surprised. I had really low expectations, and they far exceeded them. And we, in fact, bought a club membership, and we made that decision after the first couple of tastings,
Yes.
not at the very end where those things normally get done for apparent reasons. But it was an informed decision because we enjoyed them so much.
Let's just say I was feeling very happy by the end. I slept very well that night. Once we get our first shipment, we'll probably, show you some of them. And, we highly recommend go onto their website, take a look. They do ship to many states. Or if you're near the area taking a vacation to North Carolina, look them up. It is worth the trip to their destination. They also have a second tasting room available on the property. We didn't make it to the second tasting area because we knew we had had a wonderful experience already with our private wine tasting with Eric and Dave. So
Yeah, and it's only 20 minutes away from Lake Lure and Chimney
And
Rock.
Chimney Rock.
So easy to squeeze both of these things or all three of these things into the same day.
Yep, make it a full day. Wonderful experience. Okay, well, that's it for now. We will do our Vikings prediction closer to Sunday, so probably on Saturday. All I know is that J.J. McCarthy's still going to be out, from what I understand. So we will get more information and make a educated guess on Saturday.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening.
Have a good one.